And we're back with Season 3 of The Walking Dead. Yeah, it didn't take long for these seasons to keep getting renewed. We start off with a couple walkers in the house until Rick and T-Dog come and take them out. Rick, Daryl, T-Dog, and Carl clean out the whole entire area to make sure that everybody else can come inside. Yeah, in this season they might have a little bit of ammo, but they have silencers now, so they can conceal themselves a little bit. They all check the whole area and it ends up being clear. So all the crew comes inside because they don't know about the prison yet, and they've been going house to house to live off of. And no, I don't mean by a couple weeks. Look at Lori, she's already about to burst. The only food found in the house is dog food, which Carl's still about to eat. And even though none of them have ate, Rick still picks up the food and throws it away. And since there's no food and a bunch of walkers, our team's gonna have to take off. Like, yeah, they do have gas, but they do need a home and food. So their plans are still to go to that base that they were talking about in Season 2. But no matter where they go, most of the roads are blocked off on the map that they look at. The only way they'll make it is if they take the longest route, which is going to really suck in the long run. Rick still does have a crew to feed, so him and Daryl are going to go out and hunt. Let me tell you, thank goodness they stopped on the road right there. Finally, they look over to see a prison full of walkers, but in reality, this looks like the best home they could possibly ask for. Even seconds later, we cut to Rick and the whole entire crew as he's cutting through the gate so everybody can squeeze in really quick, and then they're gonna shut it off. And the even better part is it's a prison, so there's 2 gates, so now they can just kill all the walkers through the gate. Rick, our main character, finally has an idea. Daryl, Herschel, and Carl get up in the towers and take out most of the walkers from above, while all the others are gonna get the attention of the walkers from the other side of the gate and kill them. All Rick has to do is close off the front part of the prison, then they take out all the walkers and they'll have the grass to their cells. Rick does make it to the front of the prison and closes the door successfully, and all of the crew light it up as we know we're finally gonna get a prison. Yeah, right now Robert Kirkman and Rick are loving the budget this season. So they fully clear out the prison's walkers, and everyone is absolutely loving it because this is the most room they've ever had, while Rick is trying to make a plan. He ends up coming over to everyone and tells everyone that they need to eat and get ready for tomorrow. They're only outside of the prison. They need to get inside the prison so they can find all the medicine, guns, and other things. At first everyone's like, oh, we don't really have the ammo to do that, but Rick says they're going to do hand-to-hand combat all together. They're trained. Get ready for tomorrow. Daytime hits, so it's time to take the interior part of the prison. Not the cell blocks yet, though. They're just on the other side of the wall. They all do group together and successfully take out all the walkers. Of course, they end up getting overran by walkers, so they close one side of the gate. Yeah, and with all those walkers being on that side, they're definitely not going to be at E Block anytime soon. Even though their side's clear, Rick says they're still going to have to keep pushing in. Daryl says that could be risky because he sees a bunch of walkers that are civilians. That means a bunch of jailers could be inside. Rick then says they have no choice, so they push in for C Block. Actually, they start at the Warden Block, find the keys at the Warden Block, then get to C Block. For everyone else, this is crazy because months they've literally been on the road. Now they have a prison that they just need to clear. Of course, there are a couple walkers, but of course, it's nothing our team couldn't deal with, so they clear C Block. Oh yeah, and since they've been on the road so long, looks like Carl's got a little crush on Beth. Look at him, you know he thought he was slick, he was about to jump up on that top bed, but Herschel asks if he found his bed yet. He says he hasn't, so he goes to look for it, while Herschel laughs because he knows that he likes Beth. We finally get a peaceful moment where our team gets to relax as a nice song plays, which we're not really agreed to most of the time in this apocalypse. Yeah, we can already tell this season's gonna be crazy, and we keep seeing this woman that's dreadheaded with a katana. Not too long after, we figure out she's a samurai that Andrea's seen later. So where's Andrea? Well, Michonne left her in a place, but Andrea wanted to go sightseeing, even though she's terribly sick. All through these months, it looks like the samurai's been taking care of Andrea this whole time. But even though you're sick, if your heart's still pushing, you gotta move to the next area. The others find some nice riot shield gear, but it's got a little bit of extra sweat. Nah, I'm not wearing that. Couple minutes later, Carol ends up coming in and asks for Herschel, and Rick ends up asking if anything's bad, but she only asks for Herschel. Ever since the Shane and Rick thing and the baby thing, Rick hasn't been on good terms with Lori. She tells Herschel that she's scared because she don't feel the baby kicking, and if it dies inside of her, it would turn to a walker ripping her apart. Herschel's just like, yeah, you're gonna have to calm down and can't stress yourself out or you are gonna die. In reality, this is a really scary moment, being pregnant and not having an actual doctor with a bunch of medicine. Cause since it's an apocalypse and if anything dies, it can turn to a walker. The walker could be your baby or you could die during pregnancy. Even though they have now obtained C Block, they're still gotta keep pushing because they gotta find all the guns and medical stuff. Carl thinks he's gonna go since he's a new shooter, but Rick says he's gotta stay back because they don't know if they're gonna get ambushed or not. They all end up going through, but it is super dark. But they're not stupid. Glenn did bring a spray paint bottle to make sure they can keep a sign of the direction they came from. Everything seems to be fine with just a bunch of dead walkers until they see their first pack of walkers, so they need to turn around. Then a bunch of other walkers block their path and they split off Maggie and Glenn. Rick and them are lost, but they gotta find Glenn and Maggie somehow, so they go out and look for them. But Herschel wasn't paying attention. A walker grabs his leg and bites him. Of course, Glenn and Maggie gotta show up now. They get Herschel to a cafeteria where Daryl and T-Dog have to hold off a horde. So, Herschel is bleeding out super fast and Rick's gotta make a quick time event. Let Herschel die, cut off his leg. Yeah, I think you know what decision he ended up making. One of the best starts to a season. Oh yeah, there's 5 prison inmates. Are they gonna be safe or are we gonna have a problem with them? I guess we'll just have to find out next episode. And we're back with episode 2, starting with Rick after he cut off Herschel's leg. Daryl makes sure that all the prisoners stay watched while they take Herschel and get out of there because they could care less about them. Of course, the prisoners have no idea what's happening, even about the zombie apocalypse, so they follow Rick and the others. And this is a huge problem because nobody has medical knowledge besides Herschel. If he dies, Maggie and Beth are going to be heartbroken, and Lori will most likely die and give him birth. Daryl, being the tracker he is, waits for the prisoners to come through because he hears their footsteps. Daryl just says that they need to stay where they're at, and one of them try to pull a gun until the tall black dude's like, yeah, that old man just lost his leg, why are we even trying to fight with him? Rick does come in and make sure that everything calms down, and the dude says, why are they not taking Herschel to a hospital? Rick asks the question that we want to know, how long have they been in the cafeteria? And it's for 10 months, so we're 10 months into the zombie apocalypse. Yeah, that would be a lot to handle if you just came out of a jail cell. Last thing the cops told them to do was literally stay inside and barricade yourself in the cafeteria. At first, they don't really believe they're in a zombie apocalypse till they go outside and see all the walkers outside. So Buddy's like, yeah, thanks for cleaning out our C block, you can go over there and live over there. Rick's like, yeah, no, we're keeping this block because we literally spilled blood for it. So after everybody starts yelling, they end up making a plan. Rick and the others are gonna help the jailers clear out of the block in exchange for some of that food in the cafeteria because it don't look like none of them are starving. No other choice, looks like everybody's agreed. You get to the back of the cafeteria and see there's a lot of food left. And even though everybody's happy with this food, Rick's still gotta keep up to his word. Then we get to one of my favorite scenes of just Rick explaining that you have to go for the brain and these jailers just don't even understand what's going on. While Maggie's having a rough time thinking that she's gonna lose her dad. Come on, please do not kill off Herschel. Rick, Daryl, and T-Dog let the jailers attack the walker, but it ends up going terribly wrong. Like they're just stabbing it in the body, they're not actually killing it. Oh yeah, when Rick and all them were doing that, Carl literally went to a random cell block where he could have died, killed a couple walkers, and found all kinds of medical supplies. It was very risky, but at least it came out in a good way. Now they have a better chance of saving Herschel with the antibiotics and the bandages, but Lori's still mad at Carl. Lori explains that he can't just go on his own because look what happened to Herschel. He gets mad and just runs off, but in reality, he kind of saved Herschel's life. A bunch of walkers ended up swarming that man, but he got bit. He says that he's okay and he can still keep pushing, but Rick's heard that from Jim. And without no mercy, the dude that he was hanging out with literally kills him with a pickaxe like he's Tomb Raider. Like, yeah, shut the schools down. Like, do not let this dude come here. As they're all walking, Rick says he makes one wrong move and they take him out. Now, it all comes down to these 2 doors. All they gotta do is open one door, keep the pressure on the other one, and take out all the walkers one by one. Of course, instead, dude just opens the door down thinking that they can all take out the walkers, even trying to kill Rick while he took out a walker. Then he pushes a walker onto Rick, but of course, Daryl saves him. And after it's all over, the dude's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So yeah, Rick says, yeah, shit happens. And leaves my boy with the worst splitting headache ever. The small black dude tries to go attack Rick, but he just gets folded, while the redhead dude and the black dude actually stand down. Rick chases this dude straight through the whole entire jail and then locks him out into a bunch of walkers. All we end up hearing is his screams while Rick leaves him. And Herschel's got a heartbeat now, so Lori starts to give him CPR. And Herschel grabs her, but he's not a walker. He's back, and with a little bit more rest, he might be okay. And even though the jailers were actually super nice, Rick doesn't trust them, so they give him D-block, and now they get to live here. Rick and all the others go back to see that Herschel's finally awake. At the end of the episode, Rick and Lori end up getting an emotional scene where he doesn't think she's a bad mother at all. And she did good saving Herschel because she did give him CPR, so I guess she did save him. At first, she thought he was going to come out here and talk about their relationship, but I guess as long as Herschel's alive and everybody's got food, we're good. Rick gives her a pat on the shoulder and ends up leaving her as she's left crying for the end of the episode. And we're back with episode 3, starting off with the helicopter flying in the air. No, it's not the exact same helicopter that Rick seen at the very beginning of the season, but as we can see, they are trained military and the helicopter ends up going down. They try to stop it from crashing, but they can't control it. Why is this even important? Because Andrea and Michonne are on their way to the smoke. Yeah, that's my face, Michonne. We're getting an Andrea episode? Alright, Rick's got a prison. Let's see where these two get to. They get to the crash to see nobody's survived. Like the others' bodies are missing and one's split in half and then the other one's literally dying on his own blood. A bunch of cars end up patrolling in, seeing the same smoke that they did. So Michonne goes to hide, which is kind of hard because her walkers make a little sound. They do take out all the walkers and Mercy kill the other dude until they hear Michonne's walkers, so she has to take them out. They think they're safe, but we end up hearing a familiar voice. There's no way. He tells them to turn around, and yes it is Merle, Daryl's brother they left back in Atlantic City's building. And he's got a new metal arm with a blade on it, so it doesn't look like he's gonna be nice to deal with. Andrea, thinking this is not real and being sick, ends up passing out from exhaustion. She wakes up in an infirmary and gets the medicine and treatment she needs. Merle and Andrea actually get to end up having a conversation talking about how Rick, Daryl, and some of the others ended up trying to come back for him, but he wasn't there. His track kept going cold, so they had to keep moving on. She got split up and left because they thought she was dead, so they're alive somewhere. Dang, saddest part about Andrea is she doesn't know that the walkers can actually come back alive if you don't kill them in the head, or that Shane's dead yet. The governor ends up coming inside, and Andrea and Michonne want to leave. The governor says that there ain't no bars in here and they're just being cared for. So Andrea ends up asking why he ended up killing 2 walkers, driving a knife into their heads. Of course, the governor says that they turned, and Michonne says they weren't bitten. Yeah, this is just a little scene showing that Andrea's learning exactly what Rick got told by Jenner. Now, they are free to stay and see the whole entire city, or he'll give them keys to a vehicle and take some food, they can leave. But when they go outside to see all the people walking around, well, I mean, not at nighttime, you'll see them way more at daytime. But look, they do have walls just like the prison. Also, men trained from the military that have military weapons. So yeah, let's hope our group never encounters these people. They do give Andrea and Michonne a room with food until the next day hits and we actually get to see all the people. They're definitely not trained and possibly don't even know about the walkers. But I mean, if you all have rules and you all have a job to do, living in an apocalypse isn't too hard. Oh yeah, and from the helicopter crash, the governor actually didn't kill the dude, he brought him back. He asked if he'll take him back to his guys, and of course the governor says yes. Then we meet the governor's brains, not Merle, obviously, Milton, and he's trying to figure out how to cure walkers and figure out why they act how they do. Imagine being in a place and the second day you get to eat eggs for breakfast. Sadly, the governor cuts it short because he has something he has to do. We figure out where the governor went. He ended up going to the dude's people, because they're probably wondering where all their men are, even though they got into a helicopter crash. Of course, Milton just wants peace and to tell him that they have one of their men and they can take him back to him. Then instead kills him, showing the governor is evil. Now, I understand that we need to see that he was evil and some of his people are in the bushes, but why did none of the military end up firing back at him? Like, at this point, y'all were just trained to die. Just like Fortnite, the squad ends up rolling out to get the loot and make sure that nobody's left behind. Alright, time to roll out like we didn't just kill everybody and tell everybody we just went on a little stroll. When the governor gets back, he is surprised to see Andrew still there, so she asks if he needs any help, but he says that he's perfectly fine. Yeah, this man's not fine, and he's been banging some random girl. Like, I don't even remember seeing the scene. And that's definitely not his wife, and his daughter's not around, so something went wrong. But for now, it looks like he's just gonna watch some TV. Wait a minute. Those are walker heads. No, worse. These are all the victims of the people that he's fought and killed, because the military dude they saved from the helicopter crash is right here. Yeah, we're dealing with a crazy man, and I'm kind of scared if our team runs into him. And we're back with episode 4. We see somebody's going in and outside of the prison, even getting Walker's attention away from the gate, just so he can bash open the one that Rick closed off so the walkers can't get to their block. Then we cut to all the group waiting for Glenn and Maggie to come down, which is the funniest thing ever because Daryl says, "Are y'all coming?" I mean, he comes out shirtless, she comes out shirtless, you get the joke. Not even seconds later, the jailers come out because they don't want to stay in their area because of all the dead bodies. Rick says they have a choice, they can either stay in that block or they can hit the road. Even though nobody trusts them, T-Dog does make a good statement. Once they were strangers and they did let them in. They don't seem like bad people, but if they do send them on the road, they will die. Doesn't matter though, doesn't look like everybody's on T-Dog's side. Back where Andrea is, which is the governor's place called Woodbury. Michonne's being like Velma from Scooby-Doo and just searching for some clues. And all the trucks nearby, it does look like bullet holes went through, so they have had a fight. But you can't get far snooping if the governor knows exactly where you're at. Off the rip, she tells him she doesn't trust him, just like Daryl tells the redhead prisoner when he tries to fix his bike. Looks like they're stationing the cars on the side while Herschel's finally making his first steps. It's kinda difficult, but he is getting used to it. And everyone looks over super happy while Glenn screams, but you gotta remember they're still in a zombie apocalypse. Even if they're safe, they don't need a bunch of walkers overrunning the walls. And everything seems like it's going perfectly fine until we see the gate that broke from the beginning of the episode, meaning walkers are on their block. Pregnant Lori, a one-legged Herschel, and some of the others have to fight all of them off, while Rick, Daryl, and the others are running to get back to them. Herschel gets pushed off with Beth. Maggie, Lori, and Carl end up going their own way. Then T-Dog and Carol have no other choice but to run right through the walkers. And while T-Dog's trying to get the wall open, he gets bit. He still keeps pushing to keep Carol safe, while Merle's trying to get in Andrea's pants because she's trying to leave. Let's get back to the important stuff. Rick, Glenn, and all the others end up making it back, but now an alarm is going off from the jail, so all the walkers are hearing it nearby. Rick comes up with a plan and shoots off all the speakers, but it's still a loud noise, so they have to find a way to turn it off. Rick still thinks that the prisoners did it, but they actually didn't. Lucky for him, they both work down there, so they know somewhat about it, so they're gonna go turn it off with them. While T-Dog's trying to get Carol safe, Lori is about to give birth while they're on the run. Guess it didn't even change even if they were in a prison. Do find a room that they could stop in, and it looks like Lori's ready to pop. Robert, I swear, if you don't stop giving me a Woodbury right now, I don't care about Merle wanting to go look for Daryl. Okay, that was a good swing though. Anyways, Rick's on the look for Maggie, Carl, and Lori. And since Lori's gonna be popping this baby out right now, Maggie's gonna have to deliver it. Even though a lot of blood's coming out because Maggie thinks she's not fully dilated. T-Dog sees one opening for Carol, so he pushes himself into a bunch of walkers so she can go by herself and survive. What a man. Dang, I really didn't want T-Dog to die though. Rick and all the others make it to the power where they got turned off while Daryl holds off a horde. Right after that, they get attacked by the mysterious man, which is just the jailer that survived. Him and Rick get into a fight where Rick drops his gun, so he tries to go for it until the other jailer gets it and picks it up, which it looks like he's about to shoot Rick. And the dude in the background says, yeah, they can literally take over the prison until he shoots him. Though Daryl's ready for anything to happen, he does give Rick back his gun. See, even though they're strangers, they can be trusted. Now with Lori, she's gonna have to get a C-section, which means she's gonna have to get her stomach cut open, and there's no medicine or nothing to stitch her with. So it's either keep a dead baby inside of her and let it kill her from inside. She makes a choice for Maggie to save the kid. Carl watches as his mom screams bloody murder for her life until eventually she dies too, being one of the saddest episodes of season 3. Maggie does get the baby out, but it isn't breathing. All the viewers are probably freaking out until they do save the baby. But before they leave, Carl can't leave Lori's body just like this, so he has to shoot his own mother. As he remembers those last moments where Rick told him at the barn that anybody could die, that he could die and his mom could die. Rick and the others do go through the cell blocks to find the others, then they do find a mauled T-Dog and Carol's headband, so she probably didn't make it either. Rick and the others come back out and Herschel asks if they end up finding anybody, and Daryl says they only found T-Dog and Carol dead. Rick's about to go back in until he hears a baby and only sees Maggie and Carl, so everybody knows what happened. Rick tries to go for Lori, but they stop him because he's too late. Rick absolutely breaks down, and he is not going to be okay for the rest of this season. I mean, they weren't on good terms, but this is not how he wanted it to end. And we're back with episode 5, starting with Andrea at Woodbury, and we see that they got cold drinks. Yeah, I wish her team was doing that good. Oh, and the governor does have his daughter. Okay, take it back, she's a zombie. Like, dude, I was honestly trying to give you props, but you're braiding a zombie's hair. Better be careful with your secrets, though, because Michonne seems like she likes to snoop around. Back at the prison, all we hear is a ringing noise and the baby sound, what we're hearing from Rick. While Daryl's trying to snap him in, he's the only one focused on this baby as much as anyone else. He's asking if they need to get baby formula now, which Herschel says is the good news is the baby's very healthy, but they will have to find baby formula, so they gotta go now. Rick just takes the axe, goes straight to the other blocks, and goes to take out walkers. Yeah, for now, think of these three and Herschel being the main function of the team. They were gonna go in a car, but it seems like the place that they're going towards is gonna be very crowded, so they're gonna have to take the bike, which can only fit one person, so Maggie's going. Meanwhile, John Rick is not doing too well after his dead baby mom. Back to Woodbury, it seems like the governor's just making a public announcement that he's glad that everyone's still here, while Michonne's going on a little field trip. She sneaks around the governor's room to get her samurai sword. Luckily, there wasn't a woman in there. And he seems pretty smart. He got rations and foods of everything, but then he's got a bunch of names on a board, along with one scratched a lot on a piece of paper named Penny. Not too long, Michonne ends up hearing a sound from a door, so she goes to open it up, until the governor and all the others come inside, so she better be quiet. They leave shortly, only coming in to get drinks, and Milton's just not wanting to spend all of this resources for drinks. Michonne then goes to the back of the complex to just find a bunch of crates full of walkers. Yeah, it makes more sense later, but Michonne's gonna kill these ones. Of course, she gets caught, and the governor ain't too happy about it, but Michonne just wants to leave, while the prisoners at the jail cell ask Glenn if they can help him with anything, and they help him dig some more holes. It's a good thing they're still burying the dead. They deserve it. Glenn goes to look for Rick, but right now, I would not be messing with this man, because literally, he's so off the walls right now, he attacks Glenn and almost hurts him. Oh yeah, and those big crates of walkers that Michonne killed, figured out how they get them. They get a big hole, and they just wait till the walkers fall in, then they just pull it up. Daryl and Maggie make it to the place where they're looking everywhere throughout all the cabinets, and they finally find the formula. Michonne is about to leave Woodbury, but Andrea is not. Michonne tells her that they will come after her, just watch, so she leaves. Rick is still going insane, finding every type of bloodstain thinking it's Lori, even seeing a zombie with a big gut, killing it, and then opening its guts. Okay, you'd think at least Woodbury would be normal, right? Instead of watching TV, they sit and watch two people fight with a crowd of walkers in the way. Guess who it is? Merle, and they all cheer for him because he's the main character around here. Which she shows seconds later beating the crap out of the dude. Now we're back with Rick and... Wait a minute. Is that a phone ringing? Alright, Resident Evil 7 taught me a couple things about this. This could all be fake, or this could be the only sign of help they could actually get. And we're back with episode 6, start with Merle and his crew actually following Michonne. Yeah, Michonne was right. The governor literally sent Merle and a couple other people to go find her and kill her. She leaves them a little sign saying go back, literally with the words go and an actual human back. And she's not here to play. She falls down out of the trees and literally slices one of their heads off, stabs the other one to death, but ends up getting shot by one of Merle's bullets. Merle tries to chase, but she is gone. They're getting hunted. Back with Rick on the phone, it seems like the people that he's talking to actually have a safe place to live, because Rick does not want to live here anymore. The person on the phone says that they don't know him and they can't trust him, so they end up ending the call. Rick then goes back to C-Block and checks on Carl, makes sure everybody's taking care of things, and then goes back to killing his walkers. Merle ends up telling the other survivor that they gotta get going now because they can't get hunted, while Rick gets another call. Not too long after that, Herschel ends up coming down to talk to Rick, saying that Lori really did care for him and she was sorry for all the things that she did. Rick goes to tell Herschel that he's been getting calls to this phone, but Herschel does not believe him and does not hear anything. Merle and Michonne's tracking is super well because Merle saved this kid's life for 2 seconds. Then as soon as Michonne leaves, he's gonna kill the said kid because, you know, he's Merle. Daryl and the prisoner end up going through the prison just to make sure there ain't no more leaks of walkers. They end up seeing a door that is moving around, but it looks like the walker's super weak, so they'll come back to it. While Daryl and Carl get a little bit of bonding time. By bonding time, I mean Daryl explains how his mom died. She used to smoke cigarettes all the time, and I guess one day when Daryl wasn't there, he ended up coming back home to see everybody in his neighborhood outside of his house, with his whole house burned down with his mom inside of it. I guess Carl didn't get it that bad. Then he goes to tell Daryl that he had to shoot his mom. I guess they're in the same boat. Cut back to Michonne as she's running away from Merle, and she's not getting attacked by the walkers. Apparently so much blood is on her, she's camouflaged. Rick then hears a person on the phone again talking to him, so they have a conversation until they actually slip up and say his name, which he didn't tell them. Then they hang up again. Now Michonne, running for her life, ends up running into two people that we know. Well, they don't see her, but she sees them. Yeah, it's Glenn and Maggie, and they traveled all the way out here to look for baby formula and anything for the baby. While it seems like the governor and Andrea are gonna be in a relationship now. Glenn and Maggie end up finding a lot of supplies for the baby, till Merle comes out and shows his face to Glenn. Remember, he's searching for Michonne, but she's hiding right now. Puts his gun down and shows him that he's not armed and tells him that he wants to go see Daryl. The camera angle we see seems like he's not unarmed. Glenn doesn't trust Merle and tells him he has to wait here for Daryl to come meet him. So Merle tries to attack them and ends up shooting one of the windows out of the car, then takes Maggie hostage and makes Glenn drive them back to Woodbury. Lucky for Michonne, she ended up hearing Glenn and Maggie talking about it's a straight shot from the prison from here. So will Michonne get all those ingredients for the baby and take them? I guess we'll find out. In the prison with Daryl, Carl, and the prisoner, we see that they found Carol's knife straight lodged into a walker. Maybe she is alive. Rick gets his last call and asks why all these people know his name, and it's because he was talking to Lori, Jim, E-Dog's wife. He was talking to all the people on the farm before he even got there. Yeah, my boy's tripping, but at least he gets to say his final words to Lori, and it's pretty sad, but at least he gets it through. Yeah, he's gonna be okay now, right? Right? The governor wakes up with Andrea butt naked, and it seems like he gets a knock on the door. Merle arrives to tell him that he might know where his brother is because he has a couple hostages. And yeah, they know Andrea. Of course, the governor lets Merle do what he needs to do to find his brother, and Andrea just gets to not know anything about what's happening. Insane what this man's Riz is doing to her. Rick finally comes back to the cell block, not to just greet his child, but actually hold his newborn baby, knowing that this is probably his last sign of Lori, so he's gonna protect her with all his might. Daryl just sitting depressed in the cell box, keeps hearing that same door beating, so he's about to take out the walker, until it ends up being Carol. Yeah, she's close to death, but Daryl still has time to save her, so he moves fast. But everything isn't perfect. Remember, Glenn and Maggie aren't back, and Rick ends up seeing a weird-looking walker at the gate. No, she's holding something. It's Michonne, and she has all the formula. She's not a walker, Rick. She just might be the right person to get all the answers from. And we're back with the mid-season finale. Yeah, it's kind of weird. There's 16 episodes, but the 7th episode's the mid-season. Probably didn't know how many episodes they're actually going to get, but we start with Glenn getting interrogated by Merle. Myrtle just wants to find where their new home is, cause 1, we see what the governor can do, and 2, he can get his brother and leave. Glenn does not say anything because Glenn's character has grown a lot also. Instead of being a weak gamer kid that has never had a girlfriend, he's went through dramatic kills, traumatizing death, even almost dying himself, so he's really not scared of Myrtle. Even headbutting him as soon as he gets close to him, asking where Rick was. Myrtle only likes this though, so he just beats the crap out of Glenn. Rick meets eyes with Michonne, so now he knows she's definitely alive. For a second, they're not sure if they want to protect her, so she has to fight off some of these walkers. But right now, she is not strong enough after taking a bullet to her leg, so she ends up passing out. Last second, Carl and Rick take out the walkers and help her. Oh yeah, and even though they got Michonne now and they gotta get some answers, like the biggest one, how'd she find this place? Daryl says to Rick he needs to come here now because yes, they found Carol. I would have rather her die than T-Dog, but she is super important later on for the story. At first, Rick and Michonne don't butt heads until eventually she says that she heard from this place about an Asian man and a woman, which means Maggie and Glenn, and they were taken to a place called Woodbury with 70 people living there. They are just military wannabes, but they do have the guns to back it up. So that means all sides of Woodbury's walls are watched and gunned. Lucky for them, they have Michonne on their side because she knows a sneaky way in. So Rick, Daryl, and some of the crew are going to go along with Michonne to find Woodbury. Yeah, y'all better hurry because Glenn is getting the absolute dog crap beaten out of him. He still doesn't give up the prison and says that Rick will be here eventually. Myrtle and all them have been living in these buildings. He doesn't know what they've been going through on the road. Unlucky for Glenn when he was bluffing, he said that Andrea was there also, and Myrtle knows that's a lie because Andrea's with them. Now Myrtle believes that there's not that many people in his crew, which is true. Herschel patches up Michonne, while everyone else is getting ready to go to Woodbury at night. Of course, Carl doesn't go because Rick doesn't want him to die and he needs to watch the place. So he tells Carl not to worry that he's gonna die, but Carl says he's not. Myrtle goes back to the governor and the others and tells them that Glenn's a tough shill. The governor then asks Myrtle if he's talked to the girl and he hasn't. Myrtle said he was going to, but the governor wants to do this himself. Yeah, this is a lot about him. He walks in the room and says that they're safe and that they'll take them straight back to their camp as long as they tell him where they're at. Maggie doesn't say anything, so he says they're gonna do this a different way. He's either gonna bring Glenn's hand in here or she's gonna strip naked in front of him. Well, you know, just like her shirt and her bra, which is really gonna affect Glenn later on. He then goes over to her and, you know, almost does something disgusting. She still doesn't give up the camp, so he ends up stopping. Rick and Michonne find a good stopping point so they can go ahead and walk the rest of the way. Cause she says it can only be a mile, and honestly, having Michonne around is gonna be amazing if she stays on the team. Unlucky for them, there are a lot of walkers out here. Yeah, I kind of forgot about it after being in the prison. They make it into a shed to check it out and make sure to be quiet because a horde could break these doors down. Wait a minute, is somebody under that? Okay, so somebody's been living in this shed this whole entire time, and he refers to calling the cops, so that means he does not know he's in a zombie apocalypse. Too bad he can't stop yapping his mouth though, because Michonne shish kebabs him. Then her team does the most respectful thing and throws his dead corpse outside so the walkers can eat him. I guess his life meant something, them getting away. Glenn's about to attack because he thinks it's just Myrtle inside, but the governor comes in with Maggie. He says this is it. If you don't tell him where they are and how many people they are, somebody's gonna die. The governor aims the gun at Maggie knowing that she cares about Glenn, so she ends up telling him that they live in a prison and there's only 10 of them. Yeah. Now they know exactly where the prison is. Tell us, nasty motherfucker. Anyways, Rick and the others better hurry. And yes, they do. As soon as it turns night time, they end up making it straight over. One thing I'm worried about in this episode is loyalty. Is Myrtle gonna go to Daryl's side if they meet? Or is Daryl gonna go to Myrtle's side if they meet? I guess we'll find out soon. And it looks like Andrea's not gonna figure out anything or know anything about her team. Well, let's hope her being clueless with the governor isn't gonna get her killed. Cause it just might. Okay, I got y'all. Episode 8 is the season finale, and this is one of the best episodes of season 3. Instead of starting the episode off with Woodbury or the prison, we start off with some random survivors. We have T-Dog, Sasha, which is his sister, and a dad, wife, and her son. They seem decently skilled in fighting, but they can't fight off all these walkers on their own. Try to run, but the mom gets bit on the arm and they have to go. As they keep pushing, they end up seeing a broken down tower. Are we gonna have to remember 3 different teams and 3 different buildings now? But even before they can go into their new building, they're gonna have to take out the wife eventually. She did get bit. They decide to keep her a little bit longer just so her son doesn't have to see her get absolutely destroyed. And then they walk into their broke down, fenced up, gated prison. Wait a minute. Yeah, remember when Rick said it was probably important for them to check the whole entire prison sides? Yeah, the reason why all the walkers are getting in is because this humongous hole with the gate hole. Also, best intro of the season. Cut to Woodbury as we see the governor just living 2 lives. You have him just trying to fit in with normal people. Then you got a weird sadistic man that doesn't care about anything but his daughter that's dead. And he'll also kill anybody in his way. Oh wait, what about Glenn and Maggie? Glenn ends up finally getting to ask Maggie, you know, if he did anything to her. Of course she says no and that she swears that he didn't. So, even though Glenn's super hurt, they find a walker nearby and they're gonna take the bones out of it and use it as weapons. Look how far my boys came. Merle asks what their move is about the prison. Are they moving Woodbury there? And the governor says no, they're just taking out all the people that live there so the walkers can go back. Like, that's how insane he is. It's not about food, weapons, or anything, just because they're living there. Merle says anything can happen to the crew besides Daryl. The governor says that Daryl will be fine and they might use him as an inside man to break down the prison. Oh yeah, and Andrea can't figure out about Glenn and Maggie, so kill them both. Rick, Michonne, and all the others break into a house, but I'm telling you right now, this place has a lot of houses. Meaning there's way too much room around here not for one of them to get caught. This is why I love this episode. It keeps you stressed and you never know what's about to happen next. At first, Rick is starting to doubt Michonne since she brought him into this building, but it's not Michonne's fault because he did bring Andrea and her into this building at first. They're just gonna have to keep her in because, oh no. Yeah, some dude that walks in with the stupidest idea ever says that he's seen their shadows and for them to come out. Instead, he gets taken hostage by our friendly neighborhood cop, then proceeds to hold a gun to his mouth asking where his people are, and they don't know about it because they really don't know what the governor and all of them are doing behind the scenes. Merle and one of the workers come in and kill Maggie and Glenn, but Maggie kills one of the guards while Glenn's still trying to take out Merle. The gunshots are super loud as it comes from Merle's gun when they got attacked, making it a little bit easier for Rick and them to find out where they're at. Maggie has Merle at hostage as she's about to kill Glenn until more of Merle's people come in, so Maggie has to put the gun down and they're back to square one. This time they're bagging up their heads and all it's gonna take is one bullet to end it all. Lucky for us, Rick and the others have been listening this whole time, trying to push. They throw down flash grenades and smoke grenades so they can take Glenn and Maggie without them knowing, which somehow actually works perfect. Rick and all the others make it into a building so Glenn can sit down for a second, and now our team's dealing with a couple problems. Not only are they getting chased right now, they know where the prison is, while Glenn tells Daryl that Merle did this to him. Of course, Daryl wants to go see Merle like right now, but Rick says they have to get going now. While Michonne didn't go with Rick and the others, she went to the governor's place to get smoke because she wanted to kill him. Speaking of smoke, Rick throws down some more smoke and they pick up Glenn and they start moving. Craziest part too is Andrea comes out and the only person she sees is the prisoner. Now, Rick and the crew only have one more stop. All they have to do is jump over these buses and they're good. They all start moving while Daryl holds cover. Oh yeah, and remember when I told you that Rick's not gonna be doing good this whole entire season? Yeah, he ends up seeing Shane, which makes him pause, and since he didn't shoot him, he actually ends up shooting the prisoner. And the bullet wound spread a lot, killing the prisoner, so they just shot him in the head to make sure he died. Rick kills the man and goes over to the body to see that it's not Shane, it was just the face that he was seeing. They all get out of there, but Daryl ends up staying. Cut back to the prison. Remember those people that came through the broken side of the prison? Yeah, Carl finds all of them fighting for their life against some walkers, so he takes them to their place. While Michonne's still waiting for the governor, ends up hearing something from the door. Walking in, she sees all the governor's trophies from all the people that he's killed. Then she finds Penny, which she thinks is alive for a minute until she unravels it to see she's a walker. She goes to kill her, but the governor comes out of nowhere and goes insane. Michonne kills the walker, so the governor and her get into a gruesome fight. He is insanely strong with brute strength, literally just yeeting around Michonne, even throwing her into the walker trophies he had. Guess she didn't care too much for him because she ends up tossing him down. And it's lucky she did because the governor starts to choke her out and she can't get her sword, so she goes for a piece of glass. And it is the nastiest thing ever because you can hear her ripping it out with her hand, you know it hurts. She then sticks it into the governor's eye and then goes to kill him, but Andrea stops her. So Michonne goes to walk away while Andrea goes to help the governor. Like, what is wrong with you, Andrea? Before Rick and them make it out, they end up finding Michonne once again, and she joins the group. Unlucky for them, one of their teammates didn't make it. Cut back to Woodbury as the governor's talking, making a speech. He says that Merle betrayed them for his long-lost brother, Daryl, and I know this is not the way they wanted to meet. The governor goes up to Merle and tells him, "You finally got your brother?" And yeah, he's gonna make them fight to the death, so I guess we'll figure out what happens next video.